Have you ever rebuilt someone's fruit stand and they offer you their gooey peach? No? Don't think so. So this is DarkCloud. It's a game. Multiple games, actually. Wikipedia says it's an action role-playing game, which is strange because it's really a roguelike city-building pie-based action RPG with weapon building featuring fishing. Or just, action role-playing game, that works too. I'm guessing you've played a video game before? If not, hello, video games are kinda cool. You may have even played a game with a demon summoning ritual, but when was the last time you seen one with a whole dance to awaken the big bad? I think it's motion captured? It looks it. It's not the first game to use motion capture, but it's definitely setting a mood. We'll skip the easy joke of Stalin summoning Majin Buu to say hi to Toan, or whatever you ended, I don't know. Flip-Flop lives in a sleepy windmill town, and guess what? More dancing! However, Colonel Flag Gillister, noted war criminal and anachronistic dumbass, is floating above the village. He orders the Dark Genie to level 3 super the world. Flip-Flop wakes up to the Fairy King, giving him a 1,000-yard stare, and tells him that just before the genie blew everything up, the king sealed everything and everyone into Atla, aka magic spheres, that just so happened to land in the local dungeon. He then points Flip-Flop in a direction and tells him to fix it before the genie notices and proceeds to peace out. The issue with talking about DarkCloud is that it features a host of game genres that work together to make something greater as a whole. So in order to capture everything it has, we're going to bounce between topics, starting with Divine Beast Cave, our introduction to dungeons. Each dungeon has multiple floors that top themselves off with the boss floor. The floors are never very complex, it's just some rooms snapped together. A waterfall here, a key door there, maybe a big wall in the middle of the room if it's feeling spicy. Thing is, if you were to return to this dungeon, it would be laid out differently. That's because the floors are randomized. I'm not going to make the lofty claim of, one of the first games to use randomized elements, because that's both stupid and roguelike was created in fucking 1980. It certainly helped me notice how video games could use randomization, and for a game to use it so effectively, albeit on the plain side, in 2000 is certainly notable. It's definitely a net positive for the game with notable blind spots. See all these chests on the floor? Wanna take a guess what's inside? Wrong, it's a throbbing Jerry. Don't get me wrong, there's legit good stuff in these chests. Full heal, premium chugs, free supplies, and even a power powder. What were we talking about? Oh, chests, of course, right. Chests. But when none of the shops stock a certain type of item, say like Metal Breaker, random example, don't think about it, and the only source of it is chests or random drops, I get really angry when it's another goddamn loaf of bread. I'm not mad at all. There's also very few gimmicks between dungeons. Each one has its own flavor and atmosphere, for sure. There was certainly no need to create sprites and 3D models for each individual keys in every dungeon, when you could have gotten away with just like a generic key system. We appreciate the effort. Just don't expect them to be functionally different. Only the Wise Old Forest tries something separate, and that's just... Okay, hear me out. How about every floor has 3 keys needed to exit, but only one of them works because the owl at the exit door is fussy, and it's random which one he wants? Such innovation. Leaving that nonsense of a mechanic, anytime you finish a floor, or the floor has been sufficiently murdered, you're free to bounce back to the surface. Only to remember that nothing exists anymore. Oh yeah. Time to rebuild society. If you're worried it's going to be complicated, don't. After you shed your mortal frame and transcend, we can begin the very simple process of matching shapes to slots. Literally, you slot the circle in the circle. It's not hard. Put people in the house, place the building, walk up and ask, yo, did I miss anything? Give it some finishing touches, and bam, reward get. You might lament its simplicity, nevertheless it's for the greater good, since building towns is required to progress the game. Generally, you hit a roadblock in the dungeon, something like a nest of wasps, and you don't want to get stung. That would suck. No one wants to get stung. So you return back to town, finish some houses, one of which will have an introverted anime kid, and he'll be all like, thanks for rebuilding my sweet home. You've remembered the Cloud Strife poster. He's so cool. Here, have some bug spray. You take that bug spray back to the forest, get rid of the wasps, and continue onwards. If you do want a little more juice out of the building aspect, don't fret. Most locations have a request stat that is purely optional. The townsfolk give you information on how to make them happier when rebuilding the town. Stuff like, hey, can you put me next to the anime kid? He's been great at recommending stuff to me. And I also heard he has Black Lagoon on DVD. Help everyone in their requests and get a nice little bonus for putting in the extra effort. Hopefully by now you've noticed the tunes, and the music in DarkCloud is like, okay, it's good. Let's get that out of the way. It's good, it's good. You know me, if a game has a good soundtrack, I'm gonna talk about it. With DarkCloud, I feel a little bit different. It's one game I can't imagine sounding any different. It's an OST that fits the storybook feel of the game so well. I feel cozy and at home when I hear it. It's like a cup of virtual hot chocolate. I don't have a term for it. Maybe I'm not making too much sense. It hits different is what I'm trying to say. Here's the problem. The in-game version is a tad different from the official soundtrack. I'm using Spotify as my source. YouTube videos from 2008 are also the same as this, so I don't know what's up with that. And it's really weird, like the pitch has been turned up. I'll be using the in-game version of the OST, but should you go hunting it down, just be aware that it sounds off. Yo bro, you can't jump this gap. Here's the potion to turn your cat into a girlfriend. My cat into a girlfriend? Your cat into a girlfriend! Good luck figuring out how much of that was a joke. Making progress in towns nets you a new dungeon pal. DarkCloud has 6 playable characters and they all fall into melee or ranged, with each one having quirks that make them different enough. Let's take Flip-Flop and Goro for example. Flip-Flop has these wide swings that cover a decent amount of space, although he needs to land a whole combo or just multiple small hits to do any amount of damage. While Goro over here has laughable range, but surprise surprise he has monkey damage. The biggest issue with this is the disparity between melee and ranged. As you attack, the HP of the weapon decreases. If it ever hits 0, your weapon fucking disappears. No second chances. Gone, done, dead. You can mitigate this by buying something that would auto-repair should that happen, but it's pretty expensive, so it's best to err on the side of caution on that front. Here are some of the problems with melee. You need to get close. Duh. Having to deal with the enemy's attack patterns. Having to deal with the enemy AI. Each monster has a hidden stat. Let's call it resistance. I don't know if it has a name. Resistance will do for this example. Resistance determines how much damage melee weapons take when you deal damage to the enemies. Which means your melee weapons take more HP damage. Some monsters can block too. On frame 1, by the way. Thanks for asking. They'll also increase the resistance stat, making your melee weapons take even more damage. Enemies choosing to block during your combo. Being hit before the bloody animation starts. So melee has to deal with all this bullshit, while ranged gets to go, haha, slingshot, go brrr. Yeah, ranged has less defense, and you need to get close to do optimal damage. Even so, the biggest advantage of ranged is that you get to decide how to take fights. You are rarely in a bad position. Plus, ranged party members don't care about the monster's resistance stat. Every shot you take damages the weapon, but it's consistent and predictable. Oh, I have to stop moving to shoot is hardly a downside. Can you imagine a character that could move and shoot? How broken would that be? This is the flow for basically the whole game. Go somewhere new, find the local Dungeons R Us, restore the locals, get a new party member, kick the boss's bum, Repeat step 1. I was surprised how little I noticed the repetitiveness of the gameplay cycle. Probably has something to do with it not having more than 2 roadblocks per dungeon, and how short the dungeons actually are. I never had a reason to grind to complete the game. Grinding only made it smoother. Though please note the asterisk here. I had reasonable luck with dungeon loot, found some pretty decent weapons that kept up my momentum. Ignoring poor Zhao. Not one slingshot to be had from these chests. If it was not for someone randomly giving me a slingshot, it would have been a problem at some point, so take this info with a grain of salt. From here on in, I'll be talking about the last third of DarkCloud and spoiling the whole story. I don't think the story is a selling point of the game or anything, but I want to put the option to skip it in case you decide to play yourself. There's no real twists, but it does go places sometimes. The actual places you go, not the story. So skip to this time code to jump to my final thoughts. After defeating King's Curse, we jump on a boat. First stop, the moon! The plan is to ask the moon people for help, to seal away the Dark Genie again, as they have done so in the past. Unfortunately, the head text states that information has been lost to time. But don't fret, have you considered just killing the genie? So of course the next logical step is to make your way to the Moon Coliseum, fight the Moon Minotaur, get the Sun Gem, yes the Sun Gem is on the moon, keep up, and build a giant mecha to bust up the Dark Genie. One anime attack later, and the genie is destroyed. Or is he? Colonel Flagillister, current vessel of the Dark Genie and still anachronistic dumbass, exclaims, "What you just defeated was a mouse that found its way into my sealed urn." If it was sealed, how did Shut up and die! Dran comes in the last moment to deliver you to the castle. In sight we meet Sita. Yo bro, the genie was created 400 years ago by me. I was the king of the East. Like a kingdom? Did it have a name? And we were at war with the people of the West. What, the whole West? Details would be nice here. In order to defend my people from certain doom, I accepted an offer that gave me frightening powers. Something terrible happened and the genie was formed of my grief. I jumped 400 years into the future to find the stone to erase my mistakes. Wait, why didn't you just jump back a year and stop it yourself? Shut up, I'm die! Sita opens a portal for you to go back in time to learn the tragic truth and stop the genie's creation. I admit I'm ripping the game a little for the lack of details, but this is supposed to be a fairy tale kind of story. We're here for the adventure, not the tiny inconsistencies, so please forgive me, I'm just having a little fun. As we move through the ages, the castle reverts back to how it used to look, and we learn the shocking detail. High on victory, Sita did not notice that his queen was replaced by an imposter until it was too late. And the real queen took the blade meant for him. To have all this power and not be able to protect those closest to you, Sita loses control and the genie is made. We could not stop his creation. Only thing left to do is kick his ass. The Fairy King shows up to tell Flip-Flop that the Atma Stone can recover souls, but only once before it breaks. So we restore the Queen's soul and stop the genie's creation, and everything is going to be okay. End credits. Wait, what? What do you mean credits? What? I timed it. About 3 minutes and 40 seconds after the last hit of the boss, the game ends. I mean, if you don't have anything to add or say, I'd rather you just end? I've owned this game for years. Maybe even since it came out? God, when did it come out? 2000? That's right, fuck. I am mega old now. I'm glad I finally sat down to give it a proper playthrough. For the first game developed and published by Level 5, it's a remarkable title. Even with all the genres in the mix. This was their first game. First game! These folks will go on to make a sequel, called Dark Chronicle, or DarkCloud 2 for our NA friends, which I also own and very excited to revisit after this one. They also made DarkCloud Space, aka Rogue Galaxy, and then they would continue onwards to create Professor Layton and the Ni no Kuni games. Someone at Level 5 loves European architecture. As for DarkCloud itself, it has some kinks. That weird thirst mechanic I never mentioned, and the game could do with a weapon upgrade tree somewhere in the game. Don't be afraid to look any of that kind of stuff up. Its storybook style and surprising pace kept me going, and if you enjoy the gameplay loop, the game has a nice surprise for you. I will say no more. The game is an easy recommend, and unlike Alundra, it's actually available on the PS4 store, so if any of this looks interesting to you, whether at base price or super sale, you can actually buy it. Imagine being able to buy the games that you like. Weird. And welcome to the live outro portion of this video. Man, I do not like how I've made this video. It is sloppy, it has so many bits and edits that are necessary, and I don't even know who this video is for, but if you found genuine entertainment in this video, fantastic. I'd be really happy if everyone else can like it and I don't like it. That would actually be a much better outcome of no one liking it. It finally got me to ask the question, who is this video for? What kind of people am I targeting? And to have that question pop up halfway through editing was scary. I mean, I still finished it. But, yeah, I'm gonna have to think about that real hard. So hopefully the next video will be a lot more directed and less random, like this one and Alundra 2. I will be taking a week off to think about this, and then, so basically 3 weeks after this video goes up, you should have a Dark Chronicle. Don't hold me to that, I might change my mind, but Dark Chronicle is the most logical choice to pick. That's all I really have to say this time, so thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.